Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, June 30th, 2016. The main fire potential impact for the next few days will occur over the state of Nevada, portions of northern Utah, and southern and eastern Idaho, as those are the areas that will see the mix of wet and dry thunderstorms. Elsewhere across Utah and western Wyoming, those thunderstorms will generally either be on the wet side or accompanied with higher RHs and higher dew points. After this period of thunderstorms this weekend, drier westerly flow returns to the Great Basin, with possibly some increasing winds beginning the first part of next week. The past 24 hours saw some lightning activity across mainly the southern half of the Great Basin, with a few thunderstorms moving through the east-central Idaho mountains as well. Most of these thunderstorms were accompanied by at least some precipitation, although precipitation amounts were quite light in Nevada. Current fire activity is shown here, with a fair amount of new initial attack, although not many large fires occurring from this activity. Fire danger trends are still sticking around normal for the time of year, and some of those areas have leveled off, especially across Utah, where we've seen the higher dew points move into those areas. Live fuel moistures in the sagebrush have taken a pretty quick downturn, especially over Utah and Nevada, in the wake of that extremely hot and dry air mass we had last week. These values are nearing historical records for the 10 to 20 year period of record. This morning's water vapor imagery continues to show that area of high pressure dominating the weather pattern, and that's allowing the moisture to move up into the Great Basin. High-risk triggers have been issued for northeast Nevada and southwest Idaho. This is the area we're expecting the drier type thunderstorms combined with low relative humidities. The probability of precipitation is shown on the left, with another round of wet thunderstorms expected mainly over the higher elevations of Utah, with a mix of wet and dry elsewhere across eastern Nevada and up into eastern Idaho and western Wyoming. Relative humidities are still quite dry across western Nevada and even up into western Idaho, where the thunderstorms and moisture have been more sparse. Thunderstorms will continue again on Friday, and they'll be generally wet again across Utah. This moisture will spread finally into northwest Nevada, where conditions have been very dry for the last few weeks. And while thunderstorms will be somewhat isolated in this area, because it has been so dry, those thunderstorms could be very efficient in creating new fires. So for Friday, another round of thunderstorms across Utah and eastern Nevada. Idaho will begin to dry out on Friday, so for a decreasing threat of thunderstorms, and a slight increase over western Nevada, where conditions have been very dry. Saturday will really mark the first day of decreasing thunderstorm activity across Nevada and Utah, with some drier air moving into the Great Basin. The mountains of central Utah and portions of southern Nevada could still see some thunderstorm activity, but regions further north and west will begin to dry out. Precipitation accumulations are shown here for the next 3 days, with the best chance of precipitation occurring over the southern and central Utah mountains, with possibly 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch expected there. On Sunday, dry westerly flow continues to increase across the western Great Basin, for generally sunny skies across much of the Great Basin, except for eastern portions of Idaho, western Wyoming, and Utah. Warming and drying continues into the first part of next week on Monday, and on Tuesday, relative humidities will drop back down into the single digits across much of Nevada and Utah, with some locally gusty winds possible in that westerly flow. And this trend continues on Wednesday, with many of our PSAs returning to the dry or very dry category. Precipitation accumulation for next Wednesday and Thursday is expected to be fairly light, with really just the mountains of western Wyoming and the higher elevations of Utah expected to see possibly a little bit of precipitation. The extended forecast for the second week of July is looking a little different, with below normal temperatures expected over the Pacific Northwest as another trough is entering the forecast period. But this trough looks to be dry, with below normal precipitation expected. What this means for the Great Basin is we could possibly be entering another windy period for the second week of July. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.